Hi Dee. Hi everybody. I'm getting ready to go out here. Have lights will travel, right? I am in my favorite spot. Puppies! Come on! Come on! Come on! Get in. Bear butt. Scoob-Doo, come on, get in the car. Get in. Come on, I'm gonna go. Come on. Scooby, get in. Come on. Get in. Bear butt. Come on. Bear. Dogs. Come on, dumbass. I can't keep track of you in the dark. Come on. Get in. Stay in there. Alright, so the idea is, if you see this little light here, that is a UV light, and I'm going to go look for what's called Yooper Lites on the internet. A person with the last name Yooper, Y-O-O-P-E-R, I think, lives somewhere near Lake Superior, walking down the beaches, and did it at night with a black light, and found Sodalite rocks that glow in the dark with UV. So to kill two birds with one stone, I'm going to come down here next to this stream as you can see on the ground, if I don't point a million things that there, people drive trucks down here, people walk down here. It's very beautiful, but it's not like totally out of reach of everyone and everything. But there's a beautiful little stream. It's got trout in it, and as you can see out there, it's just beach after beach after beach of stones. But I thought I'd come out here and hoop and holler a little bit and run my UV light and see what we can get. So I'm going to shut my big light off. As you can see, this is all made of stone here. It's like a big sandbank, but it's like slightly bigger stones. I don't know why. All of a sudden everything is washed out when I do that, but anyway, I'm going to turn this big light off. I do, by the way, have my protection, because here in Maine there are things that you may need to protect yourself from. Bears, mountain lions, things like that. So, we'll push the button. La la la. And this is a pretty strong UV light. It's 400 lumens. And if anything is fluorescent, And this can show up either yellow or orange, very bright. I'm just going to do it in a hurry so I won't have to walk too awfully far. Now Maine isn't known for a lot of sodalite or any of the ites, although I am walking quite near. I am walking quite near a fault. Volcanic activity has happened out here. I have found volcanic glass and all of that happiness. But out of the millions and millions of stones out here, you would think that you would find a couple sodalites here and there. I have yet to find one in Maine. And there's a lot of rock quarries out here. I'm just going to be out here walking end to end here for a minute before I bother to hoot and holler a little bit, because it doesn't take very long to scan an entire beach with this light. Because they really do, if you hit one that looks like it has its own LED light in it and it's very bright, so you can scan a big area in a short period of time with a light as bright as this one. I didn't find anything out in the bigger stones. Most of the Yooper Lites stones that I've seen, and Sodalite stones I've seen, have been about 2 inches to 3 inches in diameter. Most of the ones that I've actually found, though, have been less than an inch. And I found those on Lake Ontario. And this is not north of Lake Ontario, so the ice, when the ice came down through, the ice did not come from here to Lake Ontario. Sometimes you find stones that glow blue, and when you look at them, they're just white and reflecting the light from the flashlight back at me. They're not really blue. And sodalite stones are gray to like a powder yellow. And I don't see any here, so shut that light off. Pull my pants back up. Get my phone back in the holder the right way. There we go. Now we'll do some little bit of investigating. Whoop! Whoop whoop! Hello? Now, if I hold this thing up by the phone, I'll be holding it up a little bit, I guess. And remember, I suck at this and I don't look in the phone very often. So I try to hold the phone in front of me, touching me, which is why you can hear me breathe. And that way when I turn my body, you can see what I'm looking at. And sometimes I do this. If I'm looking left into the darkness, I don't always point the phone where I'm looking. Sometimes I point the flashlight right in my face. All right. Whoop! Hello? Whoop! Now, I have never seen any big footprints or anything like that in this sand, and I've been up here quite a few times. If you look down into the water, it's very, very clear water. And if I put this phone, if I put the flashlight on the tightest beam that I can, you'll probably see the fish in there. Whoop! Very clear water. Very beautiful place. One of my favorite places. Yeah, I can see the trout swimming around. Right in there. I don't know if you can see them or not. Let's see if I can zoom in and actually get it to focus on the water. Trying to find one. There was 3 or 4 of them there for a second. Anyway. All right. Whoop! Hello? The bugs are atrocious in Maine if you haven't figured that out yet. Whoop! Ow! Now there are coyotes, wolves, mountain lions, bears, moose. But none of that stuff is normally that hostile to humans with flashlights and that kind of thing. Unless they're starving. Wow, bugs. I'm breathing them all in. Just trying to give you a nice 360 here. And of course, trying to give you a nice 360 here. I don't know how or why or what, but I have this tendency lately to somehow turn that thing into selfie mode. I don't know if a bug did it or I coughed and touched it or what, but quite the pain in the ass. And there are bazillions of bugs here. Not seeing any eye shine. Whoop! Whoop! Hello? Ow! Whoop! Alright. I went along the beach here and checked the entire thing out for Yoopers, Sodalites, and whatever else, but I did not see anything or any eye shine. So, back up to the car. Now I also have a theory. I tend to come out much later than Dee does. I tend to come out here at 9, 10 o'clock at night because I don't want any human interaction. I did the same thing in New York, where out here I probably wouldn't get any human interaction anyway. As soon as it gets dark, I'm 25 miles from town out here. People like to come out here and trout fish, and there are a couple of camping spots here and there. But for the most part, nobody comes out here. There's only 800 people in town, so this is Monday night. Don't expect anybody to be out here at all. And they're certainly not going to be out here without lights on, so I don't have to worry about people pranking me or anything like that. That's not going to happen out here. As you can see, it is thick. There is no walking through there without a light. So, okay. On to the next spot. Okay, back out of the car we go. Now, you can see this is the rock quarry. Now I'm about 30 miles from town. Gonna let the dogs roam around because there's nothing and nobody out here. And what they've done is took down this hill right here, that whole hill, sifted the sand out of it, and put mountains of different size rock everywhere. All right. Back on with this light. Should have wore about a better belt. Okay. This other light out. Put my big light in my pocket. All right, pup-ups. All right. I'm gonna try not to fall on my face and just real quick walk around these mountains of stone and see if I can't find a Yooper Lite. I've said in a couple of my videos that I'm a very avid rockhound. One of the things I like to do is look for Yooper Lites at nighttime. And I used to do it in Lake Ontario, and I'd find them here and there, There's other people doing it also at down there, but so it's far and few between when you actually find one, or you'd have to go someplace way off the grid. I'm gonna shut this light off for a second. Okay. You see that orange right there? Well, this stupid black light's making everything orange. See that bright orange right there anyway? That thing? What the hell? Now I'm colorblind, but I'm not that colorblind. How is that thing showing everything else up orange? I'm only getting blue in my eye. That big orange blob that looks like a strawberry in the middle, to my eyes that's blue, but to the phone it's orange. But what I'm trying to show you is that super bright one right there. That is a little tiny dead leaf. But that's what the Yooper Lites look like. But the phone is somehow turning the black light into orange that my eyes are not seeing. It would be funny if this whole thing was Yooper Lites, yet I couldn't see them. That would be sensational. I see two little spots. I see. That is not rock. And that is also not rock. Oh, now I'm seeing one way up at the top here. Probably also not rock, but this is going to be fun, so I'm going to put the phone down. Turn the light back on. I'm going to put you down for a minute. Apparently I'm going to put you down sideways. I'm going to go up here. And that was also not a rock. Okay, here we go. Grab this, see if it's still running. Yep. Alright. So, there's nothing on that rock mound. I'll come over to this big one with a lot of teeny tiny stones. See if I can improve my luck by just looking for small ones. I'm gonna have to Google it, I guess, but I'm not finding any fluorescent stones at all. You would think out of the hundreds of millions of stones I'm looking at right now that at least some of them would be Yooper Lites. Here, some of the times, I know I'm swinging you around because I'm partially using you to see and not fall on my face. All right. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Let's come over to this one. Now, I had the same problem in Lake Ontario. I'd only find one like every third time I went out there. Because not only is everybody else looking for them, there's just not really that many near Oswego in Lake Ontario. My wife did find one that was 100% Sodalite. There was absolutely no doubt that thing looked like a Christmas light when you hit it with the UV. It looked like a Christmas light on a strand. It was that bright. Very, very much like it had an LED light inside of it. And I have come out here before, but that was last year, and I was just looking for Sodalite stones, not Bigfoot, and I didn't find any anywhere. I was hoping, since they tore this whole thing up, okay, I may have found a piece, a tiny, tiny little piece. This one's yellow. I'll stick it in my pocket and check it out when I get to the car. Because it could be a little piece of plastic or something. Now you see that little piece of bird shell right there? In the black light that shows up And that's why they use black light to find pee stains and blood stains, because anything that has that whatever it is in it that's organic will show up under a black light. Dog pee, cat pee, human pee. If you get a black light, I will warn you, do not go into your bathroom and shine that thing near the toilet. Especially if you're a clean freak. Okay. I found one little chip of something that may be stone and it may not be. Hard to tell. Alright. Let's see. My puppy. Hi, Bear Butt. You a good boy? No, that's Scooby-Doo. Hi, Scooby-Doo. There, Bear Butt. No, I am not afraid of them walking around in the dark. They can see better than me in the dark for sure. And tonight is a full moon. They don't get that far away from me either. They don't always listen, but they usually don't get that far away. You can see pathways out into the line. Let's see here. That's a piece of leaf. Not sure what that is. That's another piece of what looks like bird shell. Yeah. There's more of it over there. But when I was on Lake Ontario, come on, Pants. When I was on Lake Ontario, the very easy to find the better fishing lures that were painted or made with fluorescent plastic. That freaked me out. See that right there? It kind of looks like a head and a shoulder peeking out. Looking at it with the black light, that definitely was fun to see for a second. Now, you can see like right here, that right there is quartz. Maine quartz. I have tons of it. It's kind of yellowy, like a smoky quartz. Yellowy brown. And it could very easily be that other people on the internet have heard about Yooper Lites and came out here and picked them all up. But because like I said, a black light will show them things out like they're actually their own light source. If you get on one, there's no mistaking it. Bright yellow or bright orange. Especially with this flashlight. See that piece of bark right there? That is glowing orange. Not really bright, but it's glowing orange. Enough for my colorblind ass to see it. It's actually, when you're on a beach, it's a little bit difficult to look for Yooper lights with a spotlight like this, because you don't realize how bright that spotlight is in UV. But when you keep flashing it on wet stones and it's flashing back at you, figure out what this is here. Same junk. Not rock. Okay. So, in the natural glacial till of this part of Maine, there doesn't seem to be any sodalite. There's one more mountain to walk around. And my friends are pulling my pants down every 2 seconds here. Bear butt, Scooby-Doo, where are you? Stay with Daddy, come on. Bear, Scooby. Come. That's what you get for bringing them out, telling everybody that they're good dogs and that they don't normally run very far away. They're far enough away where I can't see them right at the moment. Bear, Scooby, come on. I'm going to go this way. There's one little black ass right there. Bird poop. That's bark. Somebody shot at orange clay pigeons. They're all over the place. All right. So, there are most likely no sodalites natural to this part of Maine, or up above in Canada where all of the glacier pushed all this shit down through. Who do I got? Bear butt, Scooby-Doo, come. Get over here. Come on. And I know I'm walking around in a quarry, what you might think is nearby town or something crazy. But I guarantee you, this quarry is 30 miles from town. And all this rock is made to make, all this rock that they got out here is made to make roads with when they do logging. Come on, boys. In the car. So I got one little chip of something that was glowing that could be possibly. All right. So we will take that back out of our pocket and we will look at it closely. And it has ridges and it is a piece of plastic. Nope, there are no Sodalites here. So, next we try for Bigfoot now that we have walked around and attempted to find Sodalites. Are you going to stay there? There we go. We've attempted to find Sodalites. It is very high, thin clouds tonight. But there is a full moon that you can see, although it's not really and truly giving out a lot of light. So we were going to switch to this. Whoop! I just got the chills. Whoop, whoop. Hello? Are you out there? Show me your eyes. Show me your eyes. I want to see your eyes shine. They're beautiful. Now this is 35, almost 40 miles away from where I thought I just heard a voice. But this is 35 or 40 miles away from where I got the eye shine before. This is way at the other end. This is much closer to Canada. Hello? That wasn't a dog, and it came from this direction. Hello, let me see your eye shine. Come on, buddy. I'll turn the big light off. I have a giant moth flying around my face. Hello? Ow! Whoop. I'll turn it down some. Okay, how about that? That way it's not so bright. Ow! Whoop, whoop. Ow! Oh, whoop, whoop. Now, not very many of you watched that video, but remember the video where I walked way out into the woods looking for Butterfly Pond, and I passed it and then I came back and found it? Right where that tree is right there, right where the big trees are, the road turns that way, goes across the bridge about 100 yards later than that, and then another 50 yards, and that's the beginning of that trail. This road goes out and eventually dead ends about another 20 miles down through there. And I have posted some of the video and some of the shots of that where you're looking at the mountain, the big mountain that's just across the border into Mexico. Or Mexico, holy shit, Canada. Whoop! I was just thinking of Mexico, Maine, for some reason. That's a pretty cool place too. Haven't been out in the woods there. I've only drove through it, but hello. Whoop whoop. If you're wondering what this is, that is my primary light. It's a Nebo 4K Slide King. And it's adjustable. You just hold the button in and it does that and blinks when it's on low power. And if you click it in, it'll eventually go up to high power and blink like that. Now I'm on 4,000. It'll only stay there for about 30 seconds. Just like everything else, it has a turbo mode. They call it a 4K Slide King, but guess what? It doesn't put out 4K for very long. You'll see it start to, especially such a warm night like tonight, you'll see it start to chill out and get a little bit less. So I'm just going to do it for it, because if it's too bright, they can't look at it and I can't get any eye shine. Whoop! Now, this is what I want you to listen to. This is what happens up here in the north. There's no crickets, there's no birds, there's no bats, there's no nothing. There's nothing making noise out here. It's eerie as fuck. But that's the way it is around here. And I don't know if you can hear my feet on the ground, but there is not one cricket, grasshopper, and I'm not close enough to the stream to hear that. So without the light, other than the fact that it's a full moon, which is behind a cloud right now, well, behind a cloud and it's over there. Ambient light, I can see a little bit better than what the phone is looking at right now. But it's perfect place for EVPs because there is absolutely zero noise. You won't hear the road from here. That's 20 miles away for the paved road. Whoop, whoop. Hello. So everything out here has perfect, absolutely perfect noise control. So anything that's out here that's big has mastered the art of being noiseless. If anything is within 1,000 yards of me, they're hearing me whoop and talk. They automatically know it's a human, not only because of my voice, but because nothing else makes noise out here except humans. In the daytime, you can hear a lot of birds, things like that, but at nighttime, everything is perfectly quiet. It's very unnerving. Even for me, that I say that I am not afraid of anything, but I know that if I was doing this and I heard a big crack in the woods, that's on purpose. That's not an accident. That would be totally on purpose if a big noise happened anywhere near me. And yes, trees do fall all by themselves in the woods. Whoop! Hello? And I'm not sure why I am speaking hello or telling them I want to see their eyes and stuff. Only God and they know how intelligent they are, whether or not they can understand English or any other language. I want them to be flesh and blood creatures that don't teleport and they don't go through portals. I want them to be like deer and bear, flesh and blood creatures that have to subsist in this world. They're of this world and all of that. But one of the big things that I want to talk about eventually is if dogmen, Bigfoot, crawlers are extra dimensional beings and they port here somehow. We call them portals. But what we consider to be magic could be something's actual physical ability to either walk through time or space at will. Can't rule that out anymore because I'm 35, almost 40 miles from town. I'm 20 or 25 miles out on at the end of a logging road where they have brought equipment. The equipment's not even here anymore, but they brought equipment out here in preparation, it looks like, to make another logging road. Because they'll make a logging road in, and it'll be pretty wide, pretty big, because they're driving 18-wheelers down it and hauling logs out when they cut them all. Now, you would think that if you were a Bigfoot or a dog man, you would want to be out here because there's no way that there's not a lot of game to eat. There'd be deer and rabbits, tons of fish. squirrels, because there's no real human influence out here. But what happens the further away you get from civilization? You get less and less evidence is what you get. That's what I have found. There's no Bigfoot out here because there's no people out here. So I am forced to think that unless when I'm hunting or driving down one of these logging roads and happen to frickin' accidentally see one, until then, I am going to be forced to think that cryptids, in their entirety pretty much, come to this world to observe humans. Dee gets tons of evidence. Now, she thinks it's nothing. But any of you that are like me and come out here alone in the dead of night looking for them, don't see shit. Only get an occasional wood knock, like maybe twice. I've gotten wood knocks. I've done this for a couple years now, and I only got one set of eyes that I can't explain because they're so high up in the trees. Now that's only 6 miles from town. Now that I'm 30 miles from town, there's no evidence of them marking with trees. All the times that I've spent walking down the streams with going trout fishing, way out these streams, I've never seen a footprint. I've never come across any wood structures. But there's Dee in a state park within miles of small towns, like a mile or 2 miles. Sometimes 1 or 2 of the places that she goes is very small and it's just outside of town. I mean, it's within walking distance of downtown. Now I'm talking of small towns, not great big towns in Ohio, but suburban towns. These are state parks that are not very far away from suburban towns. Now I'm way out here where you think there would be a ton of them because nobody would bother them out here. Yet there's no noise, no eye shine, no footprints, not in the wintertime, not in the snow. I've hunted here in the winter. I've trout fished in the spring. Camped out here in the summertime. Never had any kind of evidence out here whatsoever of a cryptid. I've seen bears. I have yet to see a mountain lion. But you would think, if they're very curious about humans, that you would get eye shine from way up there on that other mountain. Way up there, you'd think that you would get eye shine because they would be looking down here at me. Maybe peeking over the top of this ridge. Maybe that ridge over there. But no, there's nothing. Now that I say that, rocks fall, but rocks do fall. Now rocks fell just as I was seeing eye shine over here. Whoop! Hello! Now I'm going to turn you up. See if you get eye shine that way while I look this way. Because I'm pretty sure I was seeing eye shine down that little roadway at the same time those rocks fell over here. But if something is peeking at me, over this ridge. Hello? Whoop! Hey! Whoop whoop! Hello? Hey buddy! Now you can see up there that that's all very dry rock, and it will cave in little by little. Whoop! Now I was seeing eye shine, or what I thought was eye shine, at the same time I heard that rock fall down the cliff. I'm like, here we go. I'm seeing eye shine over here, and then something's coming running down the cliff at me. Hello? Hello? Not eye shine. Debunked. It's those flowers right there. Right in the middle of my big light are some yellow flowers. But it still stands. I am forced to think that cryptids in their entirety are here to observe humans. You can't catch them because they can, at will, just basically pop out of our existence. Dee has filmed a couple of things that just disappear as you're looking at it. They just like phase out. Woo-hoo! You can see the moon now. Whoop! And it's funny that about every other video that I put up, I get somebody always has to say, don't pan the camera so fast. It gives me motion sickness. Sorry. You're not out here in the dark where nobody can find you. Walking around by yourself. And if I have to swivel my body and my head and the phone, because the phone has the light that lets me see everywhere, then you're going to get swiveled as fast or as slow as I need. Because if I shut this light off, the light that lets you see everything all the way across the screen evenly, and that helps for letting the camera focus, is also more than half of the light that I depend on. My head is constantly swiveling, and you can see that this light is not in frame a lot. Because what happens is, as you've seen when I screw up and it goes into selfie mode, you're just seeing my chest. So all I'm doing is holding this stupid thing up against my chest. So what happens with you is you're seeing where my chest is directed, not where my eyes are directed or necessarily where the big flashlight is directed. If I see something, I'll move the camera very quickly. But, like I've said, I am under the impression, and there is no eye shine, but right up there, come on thing, focus, there we go, right up there, right there, is something blacker than black behind those two trees. Do I want to say that it's a Bigfoot? No. In the phone, does it look like a dog man looking out of the trees? Yes. Does it have eye shine? No. D would be hoping right now that something was looking, but whatever it is, it's not moving. How does that even happen? We're near the button to make the selfie come on, yet it does it anyway. All I have to do is touch the screen, so I don't know if I have something like double tap turned on so it turns a selfie around. I have no idea. So we will try that. Tap, tap. Nope, that's not it. Touch it with two things. Tap, tap. Am I in selfie mode? No. No idea what happens or why that happens. But anyway, that's for a discussion for a different day when I think about it a little more. There's no noise out here except for there's a jet flying over now. There's no eye shine. Nothing answers me. No cracks. One rock fall down the cliff, which is most likely natural. You can see the moon. Beautiful full moon tonight. But I personally am of the idea that the cryptids portal themselves near humans to observe them. And because Dee goes out there a lot, they get to know her. They know she's not attacking them, and now for all intents and purposes, it seems that they don't care if she sees them. Whole body. All this is turning on. Make sure it doesn't hook itself. All right. Because she's got things walking, and you can see half or 2/3 of their body sticking up above all of that brush in the fields, and they're just blatantly walking around paying no attention to her. That's got to be a D thing. People think, oh, she's fake. No. She is not fake. I gotta get some light. Yoink, yoink, yoink. There we go. Get some air on the windshield here so we can see and drive. I'm going to set you down for a second. Still talk to you here because 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds just went by. I happen to be looking at the phone. If I put my seatbelt on, that way it won't ding when I go over 5 miles an hour. And maybe I can talk about my theory here. And it's just a theory, but you don't find beds. Then people say, oh, they live in the caves. There's no caves where Dee normally goes. She's got to drive quite a ways before she comes up with any kind of caves. And if Bigfoot is anywhere from 6 feet to 13 feet tall, 14 feet tall, like that, Bigfoot is not living in a cave. There's no way he can go deep enough down in through there. Hold this in my left hand. Like that. Let's make sure there's light. I'm looking at the road here. Okay, so Bigfoot's too big to live in the average cave system. You go in a cave, and even if it's a long cave, human beings have to scooch through holes. If you're 13 feet tall and way bigger than a human, you are not scooching through a hole like that. Debunked. Even a dog man that's between 5 and 7 feet tall. Debunked. You're not using a cave system. Could a smaller cryptid, like a crawler, use a cave system? Especially since the fact that they're white and it seems like they come from someplace where they don't need or don't have sunlight. The being white like that, human beings, even the people that we consider white, are not white. We have protection from the sun. We have pigment. We are not pure white like that. So if crawlers are pure white, then either they come from underground or a planet that's not facing their sun. Maybe they come from, God only knows, from underground because their planet does not have a sun. So they're basically, their entire planet is a spaceship. No way of telling. But to have white pigment like that and only be seen at nighttime, it would seem that they don't come from any place that has ultraviolet UV problems. And something like that would really have to be careful on this planet to not be caught out in the sunlight. If you had no natural thing against it. Let me see if I wink. That's way too far. There we go. Just wanted to get it so that you could have a bigger field of view. And I'm going 15 miles an hour right now. Basically, that's the medium speed. 21, 22, but that's the medium speed of my car if I'm not pushing on the gas pedal. It'll stay at about 15 miles an hour. I have my elbow on my windowsill so that I can hold you above my point of view so I can see the road. So you're going to get a lot of jiggling around. I'm sorry, but I can't just hold my arm up there forever. But, and I do that a lot. That sound when I'm thinking. I'm sorry, but it's a natural habit of mine. Nobody said anything, but I do it a lot. I notice it because I do watch my own videos. In fact, I watch my entire video before I even post it. Especially when I go out in the woods with D. I gotta write down all the times that I have accidentally pointed at the lower half of her body because I don't look around, and I'm not looking through my camera ever, and I'm used to being alone, so I don't think of it that way. I'd almost like to have a GoPro up here like this. If I had a GoPro or a knockoff GoPro that I could hook to my rear view mirror, then all the times that I just go driving out here, daytime or nighttime, I could turn that thing on and just let it do its thing, and anything that ran out in front of the car, I'd have it. But this is a Samsung S24 Plus. Nothing fancy. I'm not running video through an app. I'm just using the video recorder that comes on the phone. It does have 3 cameras in the front of it, or the back of it, whichever you want to say, but it's got 3 cameras, and it chooses which camera is doing the best job at any given time. And uses that one. Not sure what the difference in the cameras are, because I can basically, if I take it off of auto, I can put it on 1080p or 720p. I can do whatever I want to, so I'm not sure if one camera is 720 and the other one is whatever the middle one is, and the top one being 1080p. Not sure exactly what the deal with that is. But it does give me a nice crisp image, especially if I have enough light. D uses an iPhone. I'm not sure which version of it. It's a pretty fancy one because she wanted it to have good night vision shots, and it does. Her phone does the dark much better than my phone. My phone is a lot sharper image. The only thing I have hooked onto my phone or turned on in my settings that affects the video is the anti-shake. So every once in a while, when I move the camera this way and this way, like that, now I'm going to continuously move it, but watch what happens. I'm going to stop driving so I don't crash. Okay? Now I'm going to continuously move it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You see how it hesitates? It doesn't give you that quick interchange. That's what the anti-shake does. So a lot of the bumps that are happening, you can see the bumps on the ground. A lot of bumps that are happening, unless I hit really bigger ones, even though like right now you can see that I'm moving it up and down, it's mitigating all of that because I have my elbow on the windowsill, which means that every time the car jostles, the phone jostles, but you're not seeing anywhere near as much jostling as I am. That's where I just was before. I went down in that. Get back up to speed here. I have a Jeep Compass Trailhawk Edition. Woohoo, real fancy. Not really. Not really fancy, but I got it on purpose because I knew I was moving up here. And I knew I was going to need a lot of ground clearance, four-wheel drive, and hooks in the front and the back in case I get stuck in the snow or the mud, because I'm constantly out on these roads. And at 15 miles an hour is where the shocks do the best job, because they're pretty heavy-duty shocks compared to the regular. If I try to go slow, they're really stiff. But like that, you can see this big hole coming up. If I drive right through it at 15 miles an hour, not that big of a jolt. But if I drive through it slow, it feels like I've got concrete for shocks. We haven't made it. I think this right here, up this hill right here, and I'm back onto what is considered the main road. I just did air quotes with my other hand. I think, nope, next hill is the main road that goes down through. I turn after the bridge to come out here to my favorite spot, which is down there at the creek. I go down to that creek and then I turn left and I just follow that sucker way, way, way out into the woods. And you know that you're out into the woods far enough when you start to catch the bigger trout. You start to catch them that are 12 and 14 inches long, that you've walked out further than anybody else has walked. Right there, they're only like 3, 4, 5 inches long. And 6 inches is the minimum size. So people do catch them there, but they tend to let them go. And the people that are very avid about trout fishing won't fish in a common spot because trout are not very hardy things. You pull them out of the water and a little bit too rough with them taking the hook out, they don't live through it. And if you're an avid trout fisherman, I don't know if I said trout hunter before, seems like I did, but if you're an avid trout fisherman, sand waves, then you want the smaller trout to grow into bigger trout and have more trout, and then you have more trout. Everything goes better that way. But the people that are just up there to catch what they can because they're only here for a week, 3 days or whatever, if they catch a small trout and let it go back in the water, they treating them like you would a sunfish, and then most of them die. Now you can tell I'm on a bigger road now. I'm doing 25 miles an hour. I just wanted to basically going to show you how long or how far back into the woods I've drove to get to where I was. And you never know, maybe something will come running across like that bear did. This is not the Demo Road. I'm on the other side of the highway and the other side of town from where the Demo Road is. But back to the subject of what do you think Bigfoot and the other cryptids are? Now, no one's been talking about rakes or clickers or whatever you want to call them things. They've only been talking about them for a couple of years now. And most of what you see, people showing it as either AI or whatever. I mean, you can pretty tell. Dee has seen some little white things looking out from behind trees. Look like frickin' Gollum. Those things were not aggressive. They were very curious, but not aggressive. But when her and Bear were together and saw that, whatever that was, literally all the squirrels and rabbits and everything ran away from it. They were terrified of that thing, and they just booked it out of their homes. So if you can get a squirrel to come out of its squirrel hole, either under the tree or up in the tree, if you can get that squirrel to run through the top of the trees to get away from whatever that is, you cannot hoax or fake that. But I'm thinking that even back in the Indian days, that type of thing, that the Native Americans were dealing with something that possibly came here from another planet or from another dimension or whatever it was, but they were trying to make places to live, which is why the Native Americans were dealing with whole clans of Bigfoot or hairy men or dog men or whatever. they were dealing with whole clans of them. And that's not the way it is now. So the human expansion, population expansion, has caused them to more than likely abandon this world as a living place because humans are too aggressive. And now they pop in almost like we pop into a zoo. You go into a zoo to watch things that you would normally wouldn't ever see, and they pop in basically for the same idea, same reason. We are behind a cage in a zoo because we can't get off this planet very far, and certainly not enough of us to make a difference. We can't get off this planet, and we can't at the present time. We can't teleport, we can't portal, we can't time shift, we can't phase into a different dimension. So pretty much this is a zoo without the cages. So you have to be very careful to stay away from the humans. But if you're sneaky enough, you can look at them. The last couple times that Dee has been to places where she saw, and her and Angie were together, and they saw something walking through quite far away, but walking through the grass like that. That thing looked like it was hunting frogs or rabbits or mice or something. It ducked down in the grass, come back up. Finally it looked at them and then started coming their direction a little bit. That thing didn't care that they were there. That thing was just having fun doing whatever it was doing. And this latest video where whatever the white thing is that's walking through Uncrypted Ranch, that thing wasn't walking at her, it was just walking through the field down next to the really tall grass. It didn't break out into a run when she shined the light on it. It didn't run away, it didn't run towards her, it just like ignored her. But it's big enough and it's weird enough where of course it scared her and she just walked away from it, because that's what she does. I would have been all over that. I would have had to make it prove whether it was aggressive or whether it was going to run away, because I would have walked right at that thing. But she is not me. And if she freaked out enough begging me not to walk over there, I probably wouldn't. I would have to prove to myself that that is not a person in a monkey suit. And I got close enough to it, especially zoomed in on my camera, to figure out that it's real. Then that's the only way that I'm going to prove it to myself. Like, I can show you this truck in front of me, but you don't have to believe it. You could think it's AI. You could think that everything that you see in my phone the whole night was AI generated. I cannot prove to you anything that I tell you or show you on this phone. You have to go out for your very own and prove it to yourself. Same way I did with paranormal. You can hear on any show you want to look at, you can hear all the EVPs you want, but you don't truly believe it until you do it for yourself. When you get that first really clear EVP that answered your question, and you know you're the only one around and there's no way you pranked yourself, then you know there's something to it. But then there's also a huge problem happens right then. What the hell just talked to me? We take it as common knowledge that a ghost is a once living human that died and did not move on. Well, frickin' prove that to me. That could literally be anything you could think of. It could be an entity that simply followed somebody around enough to know what their voice sounded like and would have their name memorized, pieces of their life memorized, so that if you asked specific questions, they could give you semi-specific answers, and you would think it was that person that was alive. But if you're religious, then a demon could do the same thing. If you're not religious, then something that's in between the dimensions, partially here but partially not, that we can't see, but somehow they can make a voice happen on a voice recorder answering questions. You instantly prove that there's something about the paranormal, there's something to it. You prove that to yourself, and then in the same instant, you have so many more questions that you couldn't possibly answer, that you wish you never got the answer that paranormal is real. Ugh. And I'm having the same problem. There's my house and my yellow door. I'm having the same problem with Bigfoot. All right. Oop, look, there's my deer again. Right. There you are. She comes to my house every night. And I still have never got a really good look at her. I'm pretty sure it's a female. It's a doe. Yeah, that's a doe. Or a very small spike horn. Just far enough away with my naked eyes that I can't tell. Oh, I can tell. Looking directly away from me, there ain't no horns on that thing. It's a young doe. Oh, here we go. Moved around to where I can park. Yoink, 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 yoink. There you go, back out. There's my garage. Okay, so I'm having the same problem with Bigfoot now. What I'm seeing that Dee has caught, Dee is using the lowest tech possible. She has a cell phone, a couple of lights, and a little bit of radiation detection and a necrophonic and things like that, but nothing high tech. And she's catching evidence. She's catching things standing up above the corn. She's catching things walking through that are obviously not people. When I was with her, I heard things and saw things move that human beings did not do that. Certainly no animals did that. It was not a raccoon climbing up the small trees that were shaking them that violently. It was not a deer that stepped on rocks heavy enough to sound like something picked up a giant piece of shale and slammed it back down. Whatever it was that was smashing logs against trees right next to the trucks, that was crazy. Dee thinks that's not very much evidence. Bullshit. Look at all of my videos and tell me one time that anything that close, that loud happened. Nothing. There's nothing like that happened to me whatsoever. And I'm in places, I go to places that have all of the sign, all of the tree manipulation and footsteps, things that I can see that they've been around, but they just don't at all show themselves or let themselves be known around me like they do to Dee. And I'm sure they only did it because Dee was there. If I was there doing that myself, I wouldn't have got any of that at all. And if you think she has money to pay somebody to go out, or pay a couple people to go out in 3 or 4 different places and hide someplace in the dark, I'm gonna pay you $50 and I want you to go out where you go down the road and you go down the path that actually has tarmac on it. Go out into the field, all the way across the field, into the corner and hide there. And when we shine lights over there, I want you to shake these trees. Would you do that for $50 or $100? Fuck no. And who's she trying to impress? Me? No. She didn't have to have me there whatsoever. She doesn't need me to go out and look for them. She does it all the time. There's no reasoning behind why she would pay people to go out and do this stuff. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. She's not making enough money on YouTube to make it worth it to get caught doing that. Maybe at some other point down the road where she's making a couple $100,000 a year and she has to do more and more and more spectacular things to keep that going. I mean, that's where all your big name people run into the problem, is they need more and more and more and more spectacular stuff, or else they start losing their fan base. Stuff becomes boring after a while. I mean, how many of my videos can you watch in a row? There's nothing to look at. Nothing happens. You can look out there and find dark things that might look like a face or whatever, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for definitive proof. I'm inside my house now. But I'm looking for definitive proof of Bigfoot. So I don't do blob squatches. I don't trust noises or anything like that. Even the eye shine I got, even though that was 13 or 14 feet up in the air, there's no proving what that was. So I have to take that with a grain of salt. I was happy to find it, but come on, boys. I was very happy to find that, but I have to take that with a grain of salt. I got my boys are in, and I'm in, so I'm going to shut this off. Hey, look, there's my living room. All right. Have a good night. Bye.